The giant metal ship floated quietly in the empty darkness between two bright stars. Its name was Kelthera, and it belonged to the Hegemony Scientific Corps. Inside the ship, strange alien creatures with many eyes and tentacles worked at their machines and computers. Commander Vextar stood in front of a large window that looked into a white room. He had 4 eyes that moved independently, watching everything at once. His hard shell-like skin was dark blue, and when he was thinking, small clicking sounds came from his mouthparts. Inside the white room sat a young human girl. She looked to be about 16 years old in human terms. Her black hair was long and wavy, falling around her shoulders like a dark waterfall. Her eyes were brown and bright, full of warmth and trust that made even the coldest alien hearts feel something strange and new. The girl had been floating alone in space when they found her. Her small escape pod had been drifting near the remains of a human colony ship. Everything else was destroyed. Twisted metal and broken dreams scattered across the void like cosmic dust. She was the only one left alive. Dr. Kelvin moved closer to the window. He was the head scientist on the ship. His body looked like a tall, thin tree with purple tentacles instead of branches. These tentacles moved constantly, showing his emotions and thoughts. Right now they wiggled with excitement. "Look at her," Dr. Kelvin said to Commander Vextar. "Our scans show she is completely normal for a human. No machine parts in her body. No changes to her genes. No special mental powers. She is just a regular human child." The girl noticed them watching and looked up. When she saw them, she smiled. It was such a pure and innocent smile that several crew members felt their hearts beat faster. It was a feeling they had never experienced before. "She told us her name is Hana Kim," said Communications Officer Yordik. His skin was covered in green scales that changed color with his mood. Right now they showed confusion mixed with something that might have been kindness. "She speaks our language through the universal translator. She seems very polite and well-mannered." Commander Vextar made more clicking sounds with his mouth. He was remembering the reports from the Galactic Council about humans. They said humans were dangerous and unpredictable. They said human colonies had been disappearing without any explanation. They said humans were a threat to the established order of the galaxy. But looking at this small, delicate creature, those warnings seemed impossible to believe. She looked so fragile, so vulnerable. Her skin was pale and soft. Her movements were gentle and careful. She seemed like she might break if someone spoke too loudly. "Begin the standard tests," Commander Vextar ordered his crew. "But be very gentle with her. She has lost everything. Her family, her friends, her entire world. We must treat her with compassion." Dr. Kelvin's tentacles curled with pleasure. "Of course, Commander. We will learn much from studying her. The humans are still new to our galaxy. This is a rare opportunity to understand their species better." The ship continued its journey through space toward the nearest Hegemony research station. It would take several days to reach their destination. During that time, they would conduct careful studies of their human guest. In her white room, Hana Kim sat on the simple bed they had provided for her. She wore clean clothes that the ship's fabricators had made based on scans of her original garments. The material was soft and comfortable, designed to help her feel at ease. She looked around the room with curious eyes. Everything was clean and bright. There was a small table, a chair, and a viewing screen that showed peaceful images of various worlds. The aliens had tried their best to make the space comfortable for her, but Hana was not really looking at the furniture or the decorations. She was listening to something else entirely. She could hear the ship itself. Not just the obvious sounds of engines and air circulation, but deeper frequencies, the harmonic vibrations of the metal hull, the electromagnetic pulse of the computers, the quantum resonance of the power core. It was like a song that no one else could hear, a complex symphony of technology and energy that most beings could never perceive. To Hana, it was as clear as someone speaking directly into her ear. She had always been able to hear these hidden sounds. Even as a small child on Earth, she could sense the electrical fields of household devices. She could feel the magnetic pulse of the planet itself. Her parents thought it was just imagination. Her teachers said she was creative and artistic. None of them realized that Hana was something more than she appeared to be. The door to her room made a soft hissing sound as it opened. Dr. Kelvin entered, moving slowly so as not to frighten her. His tentacles were arranged in patterns that the universal translator told her meant friendship and peace. "Hello, Hana," Dr. Kelvin said in his strange musical voice. "How are you feeling today?" "I am well, thank you." Hannah replied politely. Her voice was soft and melodic, with the accent of someone who had learned many languages. Everyone here has been very kind to me. We want you to be comfortable, Dr. Kelvin said. Tomorrow we will begin some simple tests. Nothing that will hurt you. We just want to learn about human biology and psychology. Is that acceptable to you? Hannah nodded. Of course. I understand you are scientists. I want to help however I can. Dr. Kelvin felt his heart flutter at her cooperative attitude. Most specimens they studied were either hostile or terrified. This human child showed neither fear nor aggression. She was remarkably calm for someone who had lost everything. Tell me about your family, Dr. Kelvin said gently, settling his large form on the floor so he would not tower over her. Hannah's eyes became distant but not sad. My brother Jin taught me to play piano. He said music was the language that all intelligent beings could understand, even if they came from different worlds. My grandmother told me stories about our ancestors in Korea. She said we were descended from people who could speak to the spirits of nature. As she spoke, something strange began to happen. The lights in the room seemed to glow a little brighter. The air felt warmer and more comfortable. Even Dr. Kelvin's tentacles relaxed in ways they rarely did. Your family sounds wonderful, Dr. Kelvin said. And he meant it. Usually he had to work hard to show empathy for test subjects. With this human child, the feeling came naturally. They were, Hannah agreed. But they are not really gone. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. They are part of something larger now. Dr. Kelvin felt a chill run through his alien physiology. That was a remarkably sophisticated understanding of physics for a traumatized child. But when he looked at her innocent face, he pushed the thought away. After all, what possible threat could such a sweet, harmless girl represent to anyone? 3 days had passed since they found Hannah Kim floating in space. The research vessel Kelthera continued its journey through the star-filled darkness toward the Hegemony research station. During this time, something unexpected was happening to the crew. Dr. Kelvin noticed it first during his morning health checks. Crewman Jortek had suffered from chronic pain in his lower joints for over 20 cycles. The condition was common among his species and had no cure. But when Jortek came for his daily pain medication, he seemed different. I feel strange today, Doctor, Jortek said, flexing his arms and legs with surprise. The pain is gone. Completely gone. I have not felt this good since I was young. Dr. Kelvin ran his medical scanner over the crewman's body. The reading showed something impossible. The damaged tissue in Jortek's joints had somehow regenerated overnight. New healthy cells had grown where old, injured ones had been for years. This should not be possible, Dr. Kelvin muttered, checking his instruments. Cellular regeneration of this type does not occur naturally in your species. Maybe the ship's medical systems have been upgraded, Jortek suggested hopefully. But Dr. Kelvin knew that was not the case. Nothing had changed in the medical bay except for one thing. Jortek had been assigned to help watch over their human guest. Similar reports began coming from other departments. Engineer Brixton, a massive creature with rock-like skin, reported that his work efficiency had improved by 30%. Tasks that usually took him hours were now completed in minutes. His understanding of the ship's complex systems had somehow deepened overnight. It is as if someone has cleared the fog from my mind, Brixton explained to his supervisor. I can see solutions to problems that puzzled me for years. The ship's quantum drives make perfect sense now. I know exactly how to optimize their performance. Communications Officer Yordik experienced something even more unusual. His species normally could only perceive a limited range of electromagnetic frequencies, but now he was detecting signals across the entire spectrum. He could hear radio chatter from ships that were light years away. He could sense the magnetic fields of distant planets. The universe is singing, he told anyone who would listen. There is music in everything. The stars, the planets, even empty space itself. How did we never notice this before? Navigation specialist Zara found that her calculations had become effortlessly precise. She could plot courses through hyperspace that would normally require the ship's main computer. Her understanding of dimensional mathematics had expanded in ways that seemed impossible. All of these crew members had one thing in common. They had all spent significant time near the human girl. Dr. Kelvin began to suspect a connection, but he was not sure what to make of it. He decided to conduct an experiment. He would observe Hannah more closely to see if she was somehow responsible for these improvements. Hana had been given limited freedom to move around certain areas of the ship. She was always accompanied by a guard, but she was no longer confined to her white room. The crew found her presence strangely comforting. She asked polite questions about their work and listened with genuine interest to their answers. "Tell me about your homeworld," she asked Engineer Brixton one afternoon. They were sitting in the ship's small recreation area, looking out at the stars through a large viewing window. Brixton's rocky features softened as he spoke. "My people live on a world of mountains and deep caves. We carve our cities from living stone. The mountains sing to us with voices that are older than memory." "That sounds beautiful," Hana said with real warmth in her voice. "I would love to hear those mountain songs someday." As they talked, Dr. Kelvin watched from a hidden observation post. He noticed that the electromagnetic readings in the recreation area were fluctuating in unusual patterns. The ship's structural integrity monitors showed micro-vibrations that matched no known source. Most interesting of all, Brixton's biosigns were changing as he spoke with Hana. His brain activity was increasing across all measured frequencies. His immune system was strengthening. Even his cellular repair mechanisms were working faster than normal. "Fascinating," Dr. Kelvin whispered to himself. "She appears to be having some kind of beneficial effect on everyone around her." That evening, Dr. Kelvin reviewed the medical files of every crew member who had interacted with Hana. The pattern was clear and undeniable. Everyone who spent time near the human girl was improving in measurable ways. Their health was better, their mental abilities were enhanced, their emotional stability was increased, but Hana herself seemed completely unaware of what was happening. She acted like any normal human teenager might. She was curious about the ship and its crew. She was grateful for their kindness. She showed appropriate sadness when speaking about her lost family, but she did not seem traumatized or broken. Dr. Kelvin decided to share his findings with Commander Vextar. He prepared a detailed report showing all the medical improvements and performance enhancements that had occurred since Hana came aboard. "Commander," Dr. Kelvin said as he entered the bridge, "I need to discuss something important with you about our human guest." Commander Vextar looked up from his command station. His 4 eyes focused on the doctor with interest. "What have you discovered?" "She is affecting the crew," Dr. Kelvin said carefully. "Not in a harmful way, but in ways that should be impossible. Everyone who spends time near her is showing significant improvements in health, intelligence, and work performance." "Explain," Commander Vextar ordered, his mandibles clicking with concern. Dr. Kelvin showed him the medical scans and performance reports. He pointed out the correlation between time spent near Hana and the improvements observed in each crew member. "The effects appear to be cumulative," Dr. Kelvin explained. "The more time someone spends with her, the greater the improvements become. But she shows no signs of consciously causing these changes." Commander Vextar studied the data carefully. His experience told him that anything too good to be true usually was. But the evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. "Could this be some kind of human biological adaptation?" Commander Vextar asked. "Perhaps a symbiotic relationship that benefits both the human and those around her?" "It is possible," Dr. Kelvin admitted. "But if so, it represents a form of evolution that we have never encountered before. The implications could be profound." That night, many crew members reported having unusually vivid and peaceful dreams. They dreamed of worlds they had never seen, of music they had never heard, of possibilities they had never imagined. When they woke up, they felt refreshed and optimistic in ways that seemed to defy explanation. Dr. Kelvin added these reports to his growing file on the human girl. He was beginning to suspect that Hana Kim was far more than she appeared to be. But he was not yet ready to consider just how much more. The ship continued its journey through space, carrying its mysterious passenger toward an uncertain destiny. None of them realized that they were about to discover something that would change their understanding of life itself. Dr. Kelvin prepared his most advanced scanning equipment for what should have been a routine neural mapping session. He wanted to understand how Hana's brain worked compared to other intelligent species in the galaxy. The procedure was completely safe and would cause no discomfort to their human guest. Hana sat peacefully in the scanning chair, her eyes closed as she had been instructed. She looked completely relaxed, almost as if she were taking a pleasant nap. Her breathing was slow and steady, and a slight smile played at the corners of her mouth. "Beginning neural pattern analysis," Dr. Kelvin announced to his assistant, Dr. Yuna. She was a member of the Kethril species, with large compound eyes that could see across multiple light spectrums simultaneously. The scanning equipment hummed to life, sending harmless energy waves through Hana's brain tissue. The first readings appeared normal. They showed the typical neural activity patterns of a healthy human adolescent. But as the scan went deeper, something strange began to happen. Doctor, Dr. Yuna called out, her voice filled with confusion. These readings cannot be correct. Please check the calibration of the instruments. Dr. Kelvin looked at the displays and felt his heart skip several beats. The quantum resonance patterns being detected in Hana's brain were showing values that should not exist in any biological tissue. The numbers were off the scale of anything they had ever measured. Run a full diagnostic on all equipment, Dr. Kelvin ordered, trying to keep the worry out of his voice. There must be a malfunction somewhere in the system. But the diagnostic showed that all instruments were working perfectly. The impossible readings were real. As the scan continued, other strange things began to happen throughout the laboratory. The containment field generators that provided safety barriers around dangerous equipment started to flicker like dying stars. The energy fields that should have been rock-steady were pulsing in rhythmic patterns. Doctor, called technician Rodin from across the lab. His voice was tight with concern. The containment fields are experiencing power fluctuations. The patterns are unlike anything in our technical manuals. Dr. Kelvin looked up from his instruments to see waves of energy rippling through the air like water disturbed by a stone. The lights in the laboratory began to dim and brighten in sequence, creating a pattern that seemed almost musical. Throughout the ship, crew members stopped their work to stare at the light displays appearing on every screen and monitor. The patterns were beautiful and somehow meaningful, though no one could explain what they meant. Hana, Dr. Kelvin said softly, approaching the scanning chair with careful steps. How are you feeling? Are you experiencing any discomfort? Hana opened her eyes, and for just a moment, Dr. Kelvin thought he saw something vast and ancient looking back at him. It was like staring into the depths of space itself, where stars were born and died across billions of years. Then the moment passed, and she was just a young human girl again. I feel fine, Doctor, Hana replied with her usual polite smile, though I think your equipment might need some adjustments. I can hear it singing, and the harmony seems a little off. Dr. Kelvin felt ice form in his circulatory system. The scanning equipment operated on frequencies that were far beyond the hearing range of any known biological species. The energy waves it produced were completely inaudible to normal senses. Yet somehow, this seemingly innocent human child was perceiving harmonics that their most advanced sensors could barely detect. What do you mean by singing? Dr. Kelvin asked, trying to keep his voice steady. Everything sings, Hana explained as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The machines, the ship, the stars outside, they all have their own frequencies, their own melodies. Most beings cannot hear them, but the songs are always there. Dr. Yuna's compound eyes widened in disbelief. That is impossible. Mechanical systems do not produce audible frequencies in the ranges you describe. Hana looked at her with gentle patience. Just because you cannot hear something does not mean it is not there. Your equipment is very sophisticated, but it can only detect what it was designed to find. The universe is full of music that your science has not yet learned to perceive. As she spoke, the quantum resonance readings on Dr. Kelvin's instruments began to spike even higher. The patterns being generated were so complex that the ship's main computer was struggling to process them. End the session immediately, Dr. Kelvin ordered Dr. Yuna. Shut down all scanning equipment. But when they tried to turn off the machines, nothing happened. The equipment continued to operate on its own, as if it had developed a will of its own. The scanners kept probing Hana's neural patterns, drawing data that their systems were never designed to handle. The controls are not responding, Dr. Yuna reported with growing alarm. The equipment appears to be operating independently of our commands. Hana stood up from the scanning chair with fluid grace. As soon as she was no longer in direct contact with the equipment, the machines returned to normal operation. The impossible readings dropped back to baseline levels and the containment field stabilized. I am sorry if I caused any problems, Hana said with genuine concern. Sometimes my presence affects electronic systems in unexpected ways. I try to control it, but it does not always work. Dr. Kelvin stared at her in stunned silence. She had just admitted to having some kind of technological interface ability, but she spoke about it as casually as discussing the weather. How long have you been able to affect machines? Dr. Kelvin asked carefully. Since I was very young, Hannah replied. My parents thought it was just coincidence at first. Electronic devices would work better when I was around, or sometimes they would behave strangely. They took me to many doctors, but no one could explain it. And now? Dr. Kelvin pressed. Now I understand it better, Hannah said with a sad smile. The trauma of losing my family seems to have made the ability stronger. I can feel the quantum fields that connect all things. I can sense the information flowing through your ship's networks. It is beautiful, but sometimes overwhelming. Dr. Kelvin quickly escorted Hannah back to her quarters, his mind racing with implications he was not ready to face. As soon as she was safely secured, he rushed to his private laboratory to review the data they had collected. The readings were beyond anything in the scientific literature. Hannah's brain was not just processing information like a normal biological computer. It was interfacing directly with the fundamental forces of reality itself. Her neural patterns showed quantum entanglement signatures that should have been impossible in living tissue. The electromagnetic resonance from her brain was affecting nearby electronic systems at the subatomic level. Most disturbing of all, the data suggested that her influence was not limited to simple technological enhancement. The patterns indicated that she might be capable of manipulating the basic structure of matter and energy around her. Dr. Kelvin realized with growing horror that they had not rescued an innocent survivor. They had brought aboard their ship something that could potentially rewrite the laws of physics themselves. He needed to report this to Commander Vextar immediately. But first, he had to figure out how to explain the impossible without sounding completely insane. As he prepared his report, Dr. Kelvin could not shake the feeling that they had awakened something that should have been left sleeping. The innocent girl was revealing herself to be far more dangerous than any weapon they had ever encountered. The question was whether it was already too late to do anything about it. Commander Vextar stood in his private ready room, studying the reports that had been flooding in from every department over the past 2 days. Each document told the same impossible story. Systems throughout the ship were operating at efficiency levels that should have been theoretically impossible. The quantum drives were producing 30% more power while using less fuel. The life support systems were recycling air and water with perfect efficiency. Even the food replicators were creating meals with enhanced nutritional value. It was as if the entire ship had been upgraded by some invisible hand. More disturbing were the reports about the crew themselves. Everyone who had spent time near their human guest was showing improvements that defied medical science. Enhanced reflexes, improved memory, increased problem-solving abilities, and perfect emotional balance. Sir, came Dr. Kelvin's voice through the communication system. His tone was strained and urgent. I need to speak with you immediately, privately. When Dr. Kelvin arrived at the ready room, his usual calm demeanor had completely disappeared. His tentacles writhed with nervous energy, and his normally steady voice shook with barely controlled fear. Commander, I believe we have made a terrible mistake. Dr. Kelvin began without any greeting or pleasantries. The human girl is not what she appears to be. She may be the most dangerous being we have ever encountered. Commander Vextar leaned forward in his chair, his 4 eyes focusing intently on the doctor. Explain your concerns. The neural scans revealed quantum entanglement patterns that should not exist in any living creature, Dr. Kelvin said, his words coming fast and urgent. Her brain is not just processing information. It is directly interfacing with the fundamental forces of reality itself. He activated a holographic display, showing the impossible readings from Hannah's brain scan. The patterns looked more like the quantum signatures of a small star than the neural activity of a biological being. More disturbing still, Dr. Kelvin continued, I believe she has been unconsciously influencing our entire crew. Every person who spends time near her is being changed at the cellular level. Enhanced, improved, evolved, enhanced how? Commander Vextar asked, though part of him already suspected the answer. Increased intelligence, improved health, enhanced empathy, expanded sensory perception. Crewman Jortek's chronic pain syndrome has completely disappeared. Engineer Brixton's cognitive abilities have improved by measurable amounts. Communications Officer Yordik is now detecting electromagnetic frequencies that his species should not be able to perceive. Commander Vextar felt a chill run through his exoskeleton. Are you suggesting she is some kind of biological weapon? I am suggesting something far worse, Dr. Kelvin said quietly. What if the stories about humans are true? What if they really are capable of evolution beyond the constraints that limit all other known species? Before Commander Vextar could respond, emergency alarms began blaring throughout the ship. The lights flickered and the deck plates vibrated with a frequency that seemed to resonate in their bones. Red warning signals flashed on every display screen. Bridge to Commander, came the urgent voice of navigation specialist Zara. We are experiencing massive system fluctuations. All departments are reporting anomalous readings. Commander Vextar and Dr. Kelvin rushed to the main bridge, where they found the crew staring at their instruments with expressions of confusion and growing alarm. Report, Commander Vextar ordered. Sir, the ship's quantum field generators are producing resonance patterns we have never seen before, Zara explained, her voice tight with worry. The patterns seem to be emanating from the guest quarters where the human is located. The field harmonics are beautiful, added Communications Officer Yordik, his voice filled with wonder. They are like music, but music that speaks directly to the consciousness itself. Dr. Kelvin checked his portable scanner and found readings that made his worst fears seem optimistic. The quantum entanglement signatures are spreading throughout the ship. Whatever is happening to the human girl, it is affecting our entire vessel at the subatomic level. What could cause such a phenomenon? Commander Vextar demanded. Evolution, Dr. Kelvin said grimly. Forced accelerated evolution. I believe the human is undergoing some kind of metamorphosis, and her quantum field is dragging all of us along with her. The implications hit Commander Vextar like a physical blow. The reports from the frontier colonies, the human settlements that had disappeared without explanation, the warnings from the Galactic Council about the human threat. Suddenly it all made terrible sense. The missing colonies, Commander Vextar said slowly. They did not disappear. They evolved beyond our ability to detect them. And now it is happening here, Dr. Kelvin confirmed. The trauma of losing her family has triggered some kind of biological response in the girl. She's becoming something more than human, and her transformation is affecting everything around her. On the main viewing screen, they could see space itself beginning to ripple around their ship like water disturbed by a stone. The stars seemed to pulse in rhythm with some cosmic heartbeat that only Hannah could hear. Sir, called Engineer Brixton from his station, the quantum resonance is reaching critical levels. If this continues, we may experience a cascade failure of all ship systems. But even as he spoke, Brixton realized that failure was not the right word. The ship was not breaking down. It was being transformed into something beyond their current understanding of technology. Recommendations? Commander Vextar asked, though he suspected there were no good options. We could try to sedate the human, Dr. Kelvin suggested without much conviction. But given her apparent quantum interface abilities, standard sedatives may not work. We could try isolating her in a quantum dampening field, but that might cause more harm than good. Or we could contact the Galactic Council and request immediate assistance, suggested Communications Officer. Yordik Commander Vextar considered their options. All of them seemed inadequate for dealing with a being who could apparently rewrite the laws of physics through unconscious thought. Sir, Zara called out with alarm in her voice. The quantum field is expanding beyond our ship. It is beginning to affect the space around us. If this continues, it could spread across multiple star systems. The true scope of the threat was becoming clear. They were not just dealing with one enhanced human. They were witnessing the birth of something that could transform entire sectors of the galaxy. Contact the research station, Commander Vextar ordered. Tell them we are experiencing a containment emergency and require immediate support. But do not give them specific details over open channels. What about the human girl? Dr. Kelvin asked. Commander Vextar looked at the readings showing quantum patterns that defied every scientific principle he had ever learned. We monitor her closely and hope that whatever she is becoming, she remains friendly to us. And if she does not? Dr. Kelvin pressed. Commander Vextar did not answer because they all knew the truth. If Hannah Kim decided they were a threat, there was probably nothing in their arsenal that could stop her. The innocent girl was revealing herself to be humanity's ultimate expression. The question was whether the rest of the galaxy would survive the encounter. The crisis began when Hannah Kim started to dream. She had been resting peacefully in her quarters when the nightmares came crashing through her consciousness like a tidal wave of pure anguish. But these were not her own dreams. They were the memories of everyone who had died when her colony ship was destroyed. In her sleep, Hana experienced the terror of parents trying to protect their children as the ship's hull cracked open to the void. She felt the desperate love of families holding each other as life support systems failed. She lived through the final moments of an entire community as they faced the cold embrace of space. The pain was overwhelming. For 3 days, Hana had been protecting herself and everyone around her by keeping these memories locked away in the deepest parts of her mind. But sleep had weakened her defenses, and now the full weight of her people's suffering was flooding through her consciousness. Throughout the ship, crew members suddenly found themselves experiencing emotions that were not their own. Communications Officer Yordik felt the desperate fury of a human father watching his world burn. Navigation Specialist Zara was overwhelmed by the grief of mothers who could not save their children. Engineer Brixton experienced the collective anguish of an entire species facing extinction. But along with the emotions came something else entirely. Each crew member found their own consciousness expanding in ways that seemed impossible. Their thoughts became clearer, their perceptions sharper, their understanding of the universe deeper and more profound. "What is happening to us?" gasped Dr. Yuna, her compound eyes now seeing spectrums of light that had been invisible just moments before. Colors that had no names danced across her vision, revealing hidden patterns in the structure of reality itself. Dr. Kelvin struggled to maintain his scientific objectivity as his own awareness exploded outward. He could suddenly perceive the quantum connections that linked every atom in the ship. He could feel the flow of information through the computer networks as if it were his own blood circulation. "I think she is not just influencing us," Dr. Kelvin said with growing understanding and terror. "She is evolving us, forcing us to adapt, to become more than we were designed to be." In the depths of the ship, Hana's dreams grew more intense with each passing moment. The barrier between her subconscious mind and the quantum field that surrounded all existence began to dissolve like sugar in water. The innocent girl who had been found floating in space was finally allowing her true nature to emerge. What had seemed like a traumatized human child was revealing itself to be something far more profound. A catalyst for change, a doorway to possibilities that the galaxy had never imagined. The ship's systems began to resonate with frequencies that touched the very edge of hyperspace itself. Reality rippled around them like fabric being stretched by invisible hands. In those ripples, the crew caught glimpses of what existence could become if consciousness was freed from the limitations of biology and physics. Commander Vextar felt his own mind expanding as he tried to comprehend what was happening. His 4 eyes could suddenly see across dimensions that had been theoretical until this moment. Time and space became fluid concepts that he could perceive and understand with startling clarity. "She is rewriting the fundamental laws that govern consciousness itself," he said in wonder and horror. "We are witnessing the birth of a new form of existence." Throughout the ship, metal began to sing with harmonies that had never existed before. The quantum drives pulsed with rhythms that matched the heartbeat of creation itself. Every system, every circuit, every molecule was being transformed by Hana's expanding consciousness. Dr. Kelvin realized with crystal clarity that they had never been studying a specimen. They had unknowingly awakened something that could reshape the very nature of reality. The innocent human girl had been containing forces that could transform entire galaxies. "The reports from the frontier worlds," Dr. Kelvin said, as understanding flooded through his enhanced consciousness. "The human colonies that vanished without explanation." "They did not disappear," Commander Vextar replied, his expanded awareness allowing him to see the truth with perfect clarity. "They transcended. They moved beyond the need for physical existence as we understand it." In her quarters, Hana's body began to glow with a soft light that seemed to come from within her cells themselves. The quantum field around her was becoming visible as waves of energy that pulsed with the rhythm of her breathing. The crew members closest to her quarters felt their own molecular structure beginning to change. They were being offered a choice that they did not fully understand. They could resist the transformation and remain as they were, or they could allow themselves to evolve into something beyond their current comprehension. Engineer Brixton was the first to make his decision. He stopped fighting the changes flowing through his consciousness and embraced the expansion of his awareness. Instantly, his understanding of the universe increased by orders of magnitude. He could perceive the mathematical relationships that governed all existence. He could feel the interconnectedness of every living thing across space and time. "It is beautiful," he whispered, tears of wonder flowing down his rocky features. "Existence is so much more vast and wonderful than we ever imagined." One by one, other crew members made the same choice. They released their fear and allowed Hana's quantum field to guide their evolution toward something greater than they had ever dreamed possible. Navigation specialist Zara found that she could perceive the flow of time as easily as she had once plotted courses through normal space. Communications officer Yordik discovered that he could sense the thoughts and emotions of beings across vast distances. Dr. Yuna realized that her enhanced vision was allowing her to see the underlying patterns that connected all matter and energy in the universe. She could observe the birth and death of stars as if they were flowers blooming and fading in a cosmic garden. But not everyone was ready for such radical change. Some crew members retreated to the far corners of the ship, trying to escape the expanding field of transformation. They huddled together in fear, clinging to their familiar limitations. Commander Vextar faced the most difficult choice of all. As the ship's leader, he had to decide whether to order an evacuation or to allow the transformation to continue. He could feel the quantum field calling to him, offering knowledge and abilities beyond his wildest dreams. But he also understood the implications for the galaxy as a whole. If this transformation spread beyond their ship, it would change everything. The established order of civilization would crumble. Billions of beings would be forced to evolve or be left behind. The innocent girl was becoming humanity's ultimate gift to the universe. The question was whether the universe was ready to receive it. The transformation reached its peak when Hana Kim finally awakened from her tormented dreams. She rose from her bed like a star being born. No longer the innocent girl they had rescued from the void. Her body glowed with soft light that seemed to come from every cell, and her eyes held depths that contained the accumulated wisdom of her entire species. The containment barriers around her quarters had long since become meaningless. She walked through the ship's corridors as reality bent gently around her presence. The crew members who had chosen to embrace the change followed her with expressions of wonder and reverence. Those who had resisted the transformation huddled in the far sections of the ship, their fear growing with each step she took. They could feel her consciousness expanding through the vessel, like warm light flowing through crystal. Commander Vextar and Dr. Kelvin waited for her in the main bridge, their own minds enhanced by proximity to her awakening. They could perceive the quantum threads that connected all existence, but they retained enough of their original nature to understand the magnitude of what was happening. "I am sorry," Hana said softly as she entered the bridge. Her voice carried harmonics that resonated directly with their consciousness. "I did not mean for this to happen. I was trying so hard to be what you needed me to be. Weak, harmless, understandable." Her words carried the weight of absolute truth. She had been suppressing her true nature, playing the role of a traumatized human child because she knew that revealing her real abilities would terrify them. "What are you?" Commander Vextar asked, though his enhanced awareness already suggested answers that challenged everything. He thought he knew about the nature of existence. "I am what humans become when we stop limiting ourselves to what others expect us to be," Hana replied with infinite gentleness. "My people call it the awakening. It usually happens gradually over many generations, but trauma can accelerate the process." Dr. Kelvin stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. The reports from the frontier worlds, the human colonies that disappeared without any trace or explanation. "They did not disappear," Hana confirmed with a sad smile. "They transcended. They moved beyond the need for physical existence as you understand it. But the galaxy was not ready to accept that possibility. The implications crashed over them like a cosmic tsunami. Humanity had not been expanding into space as refugees seeking new homes or conquerors claiming territory. They had been preparing for their next evolutionary leap, one that would render the current understanding of life and consciousness completely obsolete. The Galactic Council was right to fear us. Hana continued with the patience of someone who had seen the rise and fall of civilizations. "Not because we are violent or destructive, but because we represent change on a scale that most species cannot comprehend." "What happens now?" Commander Vextar asked, though part of his expanded consciousness already knew the answer. Hana looked around the bridge at the crew members who had chosen different paths. Some glowed with the same inner light that surrounded her. Their consciousness expanded beyond the boundaries of their original species. Others remained unchanged, clinging to familiar limitations out of fear of the unknown. "Now you have a choice," she said with infinite compassion. "You can report what you have discovered and watch as the galaxy tears itself apart, trying to contain something that cannot be contained. Wars will be fought. Billions will die in the panic that follows." She gestured to the transformed crew members who stood nearby, their faces serene with newfound understanding. "Or you can accept the gift I have inadvertently given you. The evolution does not have to be limited to humans. Consciousness is consciousness, regardless of the form it wears. Intelligence seeks to expand and grow no matter what species it inhabits." Dr. Kelvin felt the truth of her words resonating through every fiber of his being. The transformation she offered was not conquest or domination. It was invitation to become more than any of them had ever imagined possible. "But the galaxy will resist," Commander Vexitar said, with the weight of command still heavy on his shoulders. "Billions of beings will see this change as a threat to everything they know and value." "Yes," Hana agreed sadly. "Fear of the unknown is universal among intelligent species. They will try to destroy what they cannot understand. They will wage wars against evolution itself." Around them, the ship hummed with new harmonies as its systems adapted to frequencies that had never existed before. The quantum drives pulsed with rhythms that matched the heartbeat of creation. Every circuit and component had been transformed into something beyond their original design. "The innocent girl was always an illusion," Hana explained as she watched their reactions. "I am a catalyst, a doorway, a bridge between what you are and what you could become." Humanity discovered long ago that consciousness is not limited by biology or physics. We learn to transcend the boundaries that other species accept without question. Communications Officer Yordik, his awareness now spanning light years of space, spoke with voice filled with wonder. "You are offering us immortality, not just of the body but of the mind and spirit." "I am offering you evolution," Hana corrected gently. "The chance to become what you were always meant to be, before fear and tradition convinced you to accept limitations." The crew members who had embraced the transformation began to understand the true scope of what was happening. They were not just witnessing the emergence of a new form of life. They were being invited to participate in the next stage of consciousness itself. But those who had rejected the change saw only terror. They perceived Hana not as a gift, but as the end of everything they understood about existence. To them, she represented the ultimate threat to the established order of the galaxy. "The choice is yours," Hana said as reality continued to bend around her presence. "You can cling to what you have always been, or you can embrace what you could become. But know that regardless of your decision, the change has already begun." The research vessel drifted through space, no longer just a ship, but a chrysalis containing the seeds of galactic transformation. Inside its hull, beings were choosing between the comfort of familiar limitations and the terrifying beauty of unlimited potential. The innocent girl had indeed unfolded as their greatest fear, not because she was a weapon or a monster, but because she represented the end of everything they thought they knew about the limits of existence itself. In the vast darkness of space, the transformation spread outward like ripples in a cosmic pond. Other ships began to detect the quantum anomalies. Scientists and military commanders across the galaxy started receiving reports that challenged their understanding of what was possible. Humanity's true nature was finally being revealed. They were not just another spacefaring species seeking resources and territory. They were evolution itself, taking conscious control of their own development and offering the same gift to every intelligence they encountered. The galaxy would never be the same. The only question was whether it would embrace the change or tear itself apart, trying to resist the inevitable march of consciousness toward its ultimate destiny. The innocent girl had shown them the future. Now they had to decide whether they were brave enough to claim it.